Hello guys and gals and welcome. So today I want to show you guys all the things that have changed between Diablo 2 and Diablo 2 Resurrected. And obviously we've got a graphics upgrade, but there's a lot more to it than that. If we go in and we take a look in the options, you'll see that there are a lot of new options in here, especially for gameplay options. So number first off we have Number first off, we have the item label display, which is when the items are shown on the ground. So if you change it to toggle, you only have to press the Alt button once, and everything shows up, and then you press the Alt button again, and everything disappears. You don't have to hold it down. There's also a timed option now, so you press the Alt button and things will stay up for a certain period of time. The original hold option is still there. Auto gold pickup is in the game now, and you have to be nearby the gold. Like, it's not like Diablo 3 where it sucks in the gold from 1,800 miles away. You really have to be near it. You kind of have to walk over the gold. Auto party invite is a new feature, and it's very interesting. If you join a game and both people have auto party invite, you just automatically form a group. No need to hit that invite button. There's also two different key bindings. There's default and resurrected, so that's interesting there. The show clock is definitely a new one, and the show ammo count on skills is also new. There's also a chat gem mode option here, as you can see, manual and automatic. Not really sure what that means. You can also change the chat font size, large font mode, colorblind strength. Apparently you can turn on and off camera shake, which is pretty cool. I actually never really liked the camera shake, like when Diablo spawned. You couldn't pick up items. Attack miss indicator is brand new, so when you actually do miss a target, it will show you a miss indicator. And I think this is really cool because in Diablo there are a lot of situations where you can quote unquote miss an attack, and it's not a real miss. So I think this is going to be helpful to those players to know when they're missing and when they're just having hit registry issues. Of course, there's also subtitles, which weren't really in the original game either, and and of course the entire controller was not in the original game. There's also a new feature with the auto map, so you can change the map from full screen into mini map left and mini map right. And you can change the auto map's opacity, things like that. You can show party members' character names, game name, and password. And let's go ahead and hop into a game real quick, and I'm going to show you some of these features. There's also some features that I can't show you unless I'm in the game. Also, this feature is definitely brand new, where you can really get a good look at your characters, on the selection screen. And look at my druid there holding his axe with it very weirdly. Not really sure what that's about. I reported that as a bug, by the way. And my cool barbarian with his crystal swords. So let's hop into a game real quick, and if you notice right off the bat, when the create game window, you will see that there is an item spacing option here, which is enable this to space in the spacing for item drops, which can assist to controller play. There's level distance and friend list joining. So level distance was always there, but friends list joining was not. Also over here on the left hand side, you can see that we have a friends list, and you can click on the friends list and look at people that you've recently played with. You also have a friends section, and you can join games that people are in. So Quince right now is in app. Dummy is in act 2 normal, so I can actually join his game. So we're going to join his game, and we're going to see what's going on. Game is no longer available. Alright, what about Orion? Orion is in a game. So there are a lot of new features in Diablo 2 Resurrected, and one of them is the ability to switch between the old and the new graphics. Now, I want to show you something that makes the graphics a new feature without actually being the prettiness of the graphics. So in the old graphics, notice how there's this black bar on the left and the right hand side. It's because the old graphics were in a 4:3 resolution. So a 4:3 resolution is pretty terrible, especially considering most people have widescreen or ultra widescreen monitors at this point. And so when you switch to the new graphics, despite all the fanciness of the new graphics, one of the things that the new graphics brings is the widescreen support. Also, one of the things that we can do now is zoom in on our character, which is really cool. So if you want to take a look at Deckard Cain's bald spot, you can take a look at Deckard Cain's bald spot in all its glory. You can even zoom in the old mode. So if you go to the old mode, you can zoom in on that mode, which is pretty cool. Another thing that you guys and gals might not know is if you hold the F button down, which is the zoom button, and you use the scroll wheel, you can incrementally change the zoom level. And once you get the zoom level to the exact part that you would like, and you press the F button, it will always return you to that specific zoom level, which is pretty cool. Now, as you can see, some of the skill things that we changed in the settings have taken effect. So we have our ammo count down here of 241. Up here in the top right hand corner, you see our clock has appeared. We have our shared stash, which is definitely new, and obviously the size of the original stash has changed. So our character here hasn't really gained any space, but the stash has gained a large amount of space. Our personal stash is now 10 by 10, which is 100 spaces, and we have 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 shared stash tabs. And these shared stash tabs are also 100 each. And each one of the shared stash tabs has its own gold. So if you look here, I can take my gold and I can put, say, 1 gold in here. And if I put 2 gold in here, and 3 gold in here, I have 3 different gold tabs, which is pretty darn sweet. So you can share your gold in between your characters, which I really like. And, you know, there is more. So down here at the bottom, they've definitely changed the entire little UI. And as you can see, we got our potions down here. We've got our mana globes. So if you click on the mana globes, you can bring up your HP. Or if you can hold your mouse over them. So you click like this and like this. Now, some other things that they have changed is they've added an advanced stats panel. So over here on the character window, where you would normally see the advanced stats, or the stats, there's a little arrow right here, and you click on this little arrow and it tallies up all your stuff for you. So right now I have 7% life stolen, but I have 4% on my bow, and I have 3% on a ring. So it's tallying up my life steal for me. I have 4% mana steal, which is coming from an amulet, knockback. It's showing me all these stats that you never got to really see in the original game, which was really, really nice. We've also got some more interesting things here, like when you're outside of town. So being able to zoom in on stuff is certainly pretty sweet, but the skills themselves have remained pretty much the same for the most part. You know, if you switch back to the original and you take a look, your skills are still just as explodey as they always were. So on the party screen here, when you go into a game that has multiple people in it, let's do that real quick, just for laughs. You will automatically join their game, or join their party. So you come into the game and you click on the P button, and you're already in the party, and that's pretty darn cool. You as long as you have that auto party invite thing on, you really won't have to worry about this too much. In fact, it's gotten to the point where I've almost been lazy and not been checking the party window to make sure that I'm partied up. I even joined the game one time, and I guess they had auto party invite off, and nobody was paying attention, and I couldn't get a party invite to save my life. It's very interesting. Now, some interesting quirks of the shared stash that I've noted are, number one, you cannot click your items on top of each other. So you notice how in your stash you can do this. You can exchange items in places. They don't let you exchange item places inside the shared stash. I've also noticed that they will not let you socket items inside the shared stash, and they will also not let you identify items in the shared stash. So if you have an item that has sockets and you try and put a gem into it, it just will not work. So let me see if I can find something. So I have a 3-socketed axe here, and I'm going to take a flawed gem, and we're going to try and put it in there, and it literally says on the screen, the item cannot be socketed in shared stash. So very interesting. And as you can see, as you fire, the count of the arrows does go down. So I'm losing one arrow every single time I fire. It's really handy to know when you need to pick up arrows and bolts. In fact, it's become a little difficult to remember that it's there. I hate to say that because I'm just so used to not knowing when my arrows and bolts are low that I don't even pay attention to it. Anyway, it's not important. You just can't identify items when they're inside of the stash, which is very odd. I'm assuming that they've placed some of these restrictions on the stash to prevent you from being able to exploit the game. It's the only thing I can think of. And I think that's pretty much it for changes. I mean, of course, I wanted to show you guys the minimap, so let's take a look. This is the full version of the minimap. And if you go into the options, you can change it to left and right. That's right. Where are you? There it is. So left and right, and there actually is a button to swap it between left and right as well. So as you can see, it's over here on the left. And then you press the V key, and it's over here on the right, and you can swap it back and forth between the two sides. I found that top right tends to be the most useful. Of course, it's not as easy to follow as it is when it's right over top of your character. So I mean, that's up to you. You can change it as you want. But I really do enjoy being able to have the minimap up there on the top left and the top right. I think it's pretty cool. And of course, one of the biggest features that they've added to Diablo would be, without a doubt, the controller support. So as you can see, I'm in the PC mode right now, and at any point, if I just simply press one button, the game switches over to the controller support, and now I am able to play with a controller. And you might notice down at the bottom, let me get myself a little bit out of the way here, because I am kind of covering up the UI. Now at the bottom you can see that there are multiple pages of skills. Not just one, but multiple pages of skills. So when I hold the left trigger, I get an extra page, and there are 6 skills on each page, and I can assign a skill to every one of them. So you go into the controller menu, and I can go hover over a skill like this, click bind, and I can bind that skill to, for instance, let's bind it to A. And then you go into here to the general skills, and the general skills will be things like your regular attacks, your toggle run walk, show items, auto map, emote wheel, etc. Very specific abilities, so you can really make your character do exactly what you want him to do. So we're going to make this one A. Now we're going to make this one X, and then we're going to go back and we're going to make this one A, and then, you know what, let's go ahead and assign multi-shot to B, why not? Alright, and see, and now we have all 3 skills, and it's very interesting because in the PC version, you cannot use all 3 skills, but in the, well, in this version, you can. So you can actually go walk around and you can shoot all 3 skills, 1... There's my regular attack, we got 2, there's my fire attack, and 3, there's my multi-shot. So I could literally just have 6 skills on one programmable, and then I can hold the left trigger and I can have 6 more skills, which is pretty amazing. So the controller also has its own features, like you can click the stick to swap between weapons. You can click the other stick to toggle run and walk. If you hold the stick, it will do things like open up the emote window, and you can do things like follow me.
Come on.
Or you can do things like thanks, which I think is all pretty cool.
Thanks. Bye.
Now the controller has some interesting features because it covers up your entire screen. So when you get hit while you're inside this menu, it will flash red and show you that you're being hit. But basically, I guess they decided that the window had to cover up the whole screen, which is a little odd. I don't think a lot of people like the fact that the window covers up the whole screen, because in the PC version it does not. So they added that feature to essentially notify you, so to speak, of when the screen was kind of like shaking and turning red when you get hit, because you can't tell otherwise, which is very interesting. And then if we go back into the menu here, hop back to Rogue Encampment, you know, you have everything in here. Your skill tree is in here. All three of your skill trees plus the general. Your mercenary is up here, so you can hold the left and the right trigger to go between these. You also have your message log, the options. There's even a help screen which will show you all the buttons on the controller. And as you can see, auto map, make game menu. You got press and hold to swap weapons. Press to swap weapons, hold to do your emotes. The D-pad is all of your belt slots, which is very interesting. And to toggle between legacy mode, you can actually hold down the left trigger and press the auto map button. So, very interesting. So if I wanted to toggle between legacy mode, I hold this button and then press the auto map button. So that's pretty cool. And there's also other things in here like your character sheet, and you can also take a look at your advanced stats here as well. Your advanced stats have to be gotten to with the auto map button. So the same button you would use on the auto map, and it's going to show me all my advanced stats in another window. We also have our quest log.
Oh, thanks.
Which you know, it's an interesting way to look at things for sure. It's definitely a little bit anti-Diablo. I mean, Diablo was always about being able to see your screen. You know, if I switch back to controller, which is fairly seamless, by the way, you know, you can see your character on the ground here. Now, of course, when you opened up two windows in the original Diablo, you couldn't see. But most of the time, people would never open two windows. Like, they would open up one window to pick up an item. You know, like they would go, okay, let me grab this. Or they would open up just this window to put some points in. Or they would open up just this window to put their skill points in. But you would never really open up two windows while you were out in the field, because that would just be silly. And then to make matters more interesting, when you open up two windows in the new version, you can still see your character. You can even zoom in on your character while you're in this mode, which is interesting, because in the original you couldn't see your character at all when you're in this mode, which is another benefit of being widescreen. The widescreen allows them to do that. Another interesting feature of the shared stash, which I forgot to mention, is that if you put your gold in the shared stash, when you die, nothing drops, which is a quirk. However, also, if you go to the vendor and you try and spend your gold, which is in the shared stash, you can't, because it does not count as being on your character. So as you can see, I have 0 and 0. And even though I do have money in there, if I try to buy something, I get a message of, you know, you do not have enough gold for that. So, so very, very interesting. The shared stash seems like it has quite a few ways it could be exploited. Like, for instance, if you were a PvPer and you wanted to go out in PvP, but you didn't want to lose your gold, you could definitely take all your gold on your character and put it into your shared stash so you wouldn't have to worry about it. The shared stash also offers with it some very interesting equipment situations as well. Say, for instance, you were only able to make one Enigma, but you have yourself 10 different characters. Every time you log off of one character, you could simply take your Enigma off, put it into your stash, and then you would have an Enigma on every single character. So another interesting thing there with the shared stash. Of course, you could do that in the original game too, but you would have to actually transfer the item between characters, which was much more difficult, and most people weren't going to go through all that trouble and lose, you know, their Enigma for what? For basically nothing. Now, I think I've gone over just about every change. I mean, I'm sure there's one or two little things I'm missing here, but let's see. Let me just do a quick double check. Oh yes, the Exp Bars. As you can see here, there were no bars in the original. So you go back to the original, that's my Exp bar, and you take a look at the new one, and they've added these little lines. The little lines are essentially just there to help you kind of gauge how far along you are on your quest for EXP. So right now I'm very, very close to my quest for EXP, so if I just walked out here real quick and killed a couple monsters, I'd get a nice little level up sound. And that's something that they have changed. A lot of people have commented that they're not too fond of the level up sound, so I'm not really sure what to think about that. And as you can see, I've got my little skilly points. And much of the features from the old game work just the same way as they did before. So you hold down shift, you can put in multiple stat points. So for instance, like if I wanted to throw in 5 points into dexterity or 5 points into vitality, I could hold down shift and I could put them in all together. So that hasn't changed from the original. And, you know, it's a very, very, very lovely amount of just quality of life changes. Just beautiful, beautiful quality of life changes. Like the ability to move items between your stash. And I know they didn't arrange the way that I wanted them to arrange, and I'm going to OCD them real quick. But, I mean, just look at this, how you can... And it works for everything. You can do this in between your cube and the stash. So you hold down the control button and you click, and it brings something out of your stash. If you're inside your cube and you control click, it puts it in your cube. If you're inside your cube and you control click, it takes it out of your cube and then puts it into your inventory. You can also compare items with the controller. I haven't figured out how to compare items with the keyboard and mouse yet, but you can go in here and you can take a look in your shared stash. And for instance, there's a bow here. I can hold down the Y button and I can compare the two bows to each other, or I could compare the gauntlets. And it's a very, very useful feature to be able to hold the two up next to each other, so I could really get a good look at them. So I'm not going like this. Huh. There's also an auto sort feature which I absolutely hate. I'm going to show you why, because it really messes up my inventory every single time. Man, it's just look at the arrows in between the charms, and this is just the most horrible just auto sorting, and it auto sorts freaking to the left too, and I hate it. I always auto sort my stuff to the right, and as a Diablo player, you guys probably know exactly why I auto sort my stuff to the right, and it's because when you're picking stuff up, it's quicker to be able to put stuff on the left hand side of the panel, because the left hand side of the panel is open. But I guess when you're on the controller, it really doesn't matter. But when you're on the keyboard and mouse, say if something drops and you are kind of full, you know, like say you had some arrows drop and you just want to pick them up real quick. Well, you could go like this. You could click on the arrows and you could set the arrows where you want. You know, there's a lot of items that are rather large. So if you had, like, for instance, a Volge drop and maybe like an axe and a bow, you know, you might not be able to pick all of them up. And so you're going to open up your inventory and you're going to see how you can pick things up. Well, it definitely helps when you have the ability to open up your inventory and check. And that's why I would always build my inventory, you know, that specific way, you know, like just kind of off to the right hand side. Of course, I don't have my cube yet, which is an issue, but we'll work on that. The cube works exactly the same as it always has, except for the control moving, which is really, really awesome. So you can also still do the old stuff, so you can shift potions into your belt still. So if you have potions into in your inventory here, you can still shift click them into your belt, which is really nice. And you can still open up your belt with the tilde key. That was a feature in the original. And you can still buy multiple tomes of Town Portal and scrolls. So as you can see, I have 6 and 5. So you hold shift and right click on the scrolls, and that fills up your tome, and you shift and right click on the identify, and that fills up your identify. So very, very nice there. There is another new feature in Gaheeds, which I almost forgot to tell you guys about. So if you go over to Gaheeds and you click on the gamble window,
good to see you again.
He has a refresh button. So now that he has a refresh button, say you're looking for something specific like a circlet. You can literally click refresh over and over and over again, looking for the items that you want. So you don't have to close and open the vendor anymore. Nice little quality of life feature. Also, what I have noticed is that they made it so that the items don't disappear from here when you purchase them. So for instance, if I were to purchase, say, a skull cap, the skull cap is 3,494, and I right click on it. Hold on, let me grab my gold out of my stash, because as I said, the stash does not allow you to use the gold that you put in there. All right. So now that I've got my gold, let's go over to the to Gaheeds. Of course, that's another thing about the controller. If it accidentally like falls off your table or something, it just automatically activates the controller, which is interesting. So let's say we want to gamble for some chain boots or a belt. So, I'm trying to see if what I actually need, huh? Oh, I need a hat. Okay, so let's see if we can get ourselves a hat. So as you can see, the item did not disappear. In the original, when you bought an item, it disappeared from the window, but now it doesn't disappear anymore, which is very interesting. So I can sit here and I can buy these helmets over and over again. And of course, you know, you need enough gold to be able to do it, but didn't really get anything too great. And 21% or 21 defense helmet might be better than what my girl's wearing.
I'll put that to good use.
I bet you will. Which leads me into another way that they have enhanced the game with a small quality of life feature is the mercenaries themselves. So if you take a look at the panel, one thing should be glaring and standing out to you is her skills are there. So as you can see, it shows that she has level 3 inner sight, and she's running level 3 cold arrow. And if you go over to Kasia, and you click on the higher button, she will tell you exactly what skills. She will tell you exactly what skills that the characters have. So you see their level, and you see the fact that they're inner sight and cold arrow, or inner sight and fire arrow. And the same thing goes for the mercenaries in Act 2. So if you hop over here to Act 2 and you click on the mercenaries, you will see that the Act 2 mercenaries also show what auras they have, what level the auras are, which is very, very helpful. No longer will you have to do a quick search on the internet to make sure you're purchasing the correct mercenary. So we've got the prayer, we've got the defiance, and then you see the blessed aim. And of course, it even tells you what they do now. So you know, you really get a good idea of how useful they are. I think we'll probably see a lot less prayer mercs now than we used to in the old days, because now that you can see that it only heals 4, it certainly is a lot easier to determine, hey, you know, maybe that's not the greatest mercenary that one can purchase. And you know, just there are so many little quality of life changes in this game, and listen. It's hard for me to really pull them all together. So I know that this video was a little long, but I hope that you enjoyed it. And you know, as we go further into Diablo II Resurrected next week, I will be showing off some more videos. So make sure you come and join me on stream, come chat with me, and let's have some fun. And as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching these videos, and keep watching.